Hello and welcome to the B edition of the Honourable Mentions. This one's going to be interesting. Lots of stuff that makes you think, why oh why would anybody ever speak like this, but it exists, and it's great. Let's just say that the letter B is quite well endowed. First off, the bench language. I'll be honest, the only reason I clicked on it was because it was called bench, which I thought was hilarious, but the more I kept reading, the more mind-blown I became. The bench language is primarily spoken in one of the zones of the southern nations, nationalities, and peoples region of Ethiopia. All dialects combined, it's spoken by about 350,000 people. It's part of the Northern Omotic branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family, and as of 2008, is written using the Latin script. It's a bit strange because unlike the vast majority of the languages in the surrounding region, bench has retroflex consonants and a whopping 6 phonemic tones. Retroflex consonants are the ones you most commonly hear in some languages of India, like Tamil for example. The word verndi has an example of both a retroflex nasal and a retroflex stop. Tones are the use of pitch to distinguish lexical and grammatical meaning or to inflect verbs. Mandarin Chinese, for example, has 4. Bench has 6, which is crazy but still not the world record. I'm sure we'll be speaking about tones much more in the future. Here's some examples of the tones of bench. Bench tones. Tones of bench. Car with the first tone means pudenda, which is the plural of pudendum, which means external genitals, especially a woman's apparently. Starting off this video strong, the bench language, ladies and gentlemen. Car with the second tone means wasp. Or it could also mean species of grass. Car with the third tone means be round. Car with the fourth tone means leaf of palm or unset, which is another tree native to the region. And car with the fifth tone means clear or pure. And be careful not to mess these up, otherwise you get wasp in your pudenda. On top of that, bench has a whistled form, which allows them to communicate over large distances, though it's mostly used by the men and the women don't know much of it. They basically whistle the tones to emulate speech and communicate. You might have heard of Silbo Gomero from Gomera in the Canary Islands in Spain, but that's a story for another time. And on top of that, the bench language can also be communicated over this 5-string instrument called a krar. They have this game kind of like I Spy with My Little Eye, where they give clues using the notes on the krar, which are equivalent to the tones of the words. Blows my friggin' mind. Also, I just wanted to mention, while researching this, I came across a source labeled Blench 2006. Now, I thought it was a typo because bench language, but no, there's actually a professor in Cambridge University who wrote about the bench language whose last name is Blench. Linguistics is great fun, isn't it? Mr. Blench. What a legend. Next up, the Budukh language, also known as Budat Mes. The Budukh language is spoken by about 200 people, mostly in the village of Budukh in northeastern Azerbaijan. It belongs to the Samur-Lezgic branch of the North Caucasian language family and is written using the Cyrillic script. Now, I found Budukh interesting because of its weird, for me at least, gender number noun class system. Now, most languages out there have some kind of gender or noun class system. Most Roman languages, like Spanish for example, have masculine and feminine. El plato, the dish, is masculine, and la guitarra, the guitar, is feminine. The articles el and la also change into los and las when the noun is in the plural. Makes sense. English doesn't really have a gender system except maybe for the pronouns he and she and nouns like actor and actress, but Russian, like many other Slavic languages, have 3 genders, masculine, feminine, and neuter. Stol, which is table, is masculine, krysha, which is roof, is feminine, and akno, which is window, is neuter. Now, Budukh has 6, and they're a bit unusual. There's human masculine, human feminine, animate, which includes animals, plants, non-adult human females, and some abstract nouns, inanimate, human plural, and non-human plural. As we can see in this example in sentence 1, the verb beat, ruvoturi, shows animate agreement with donkey. In the second sentence, Mola is now beating multiple donkeys, so the verb beat has changed to ruturi to show non-human plural agreement with donkeys, as in the verb itself changes depending on what class the noun belongs to. Based on these examples, it would be kind of like if English had I broke a mirror, but I broke many mirrors, and I yoke a hand. And 3 other ways of modifying broke depending on what class that which you are breaking belongs to. Now this again is nowhere near the world record. Some languages in Africa have 16 to 20 genders or noun classes, and some languages in the Brazilian Amazon claim to have somewhere between 50 and 140. But that's a story for another time. Moving on to something similar to noun classes called noun classifiers. Introducing the Bora language. The Bora language is spoken by about 2,400 people in the western part of the Amazon rainforest around the border of Peru and Colombia. It's part of the Bora Witoto language family and is written using the Latin script. Now, the reason Bora is special is, first of all, Bora is a tonal language, just like what we discussed with bench, and just like with bench, it's very unusual for the surrounding region that Bora is in. Here's a few examples of how tone can change the meaning quite a lot. Memachchote, go plural to eat. Memachchote, let us go eat. Avyehu bemachcho, the chief is eating. Avyehu be'emachcho, the chief ate some time ago. Avyehu bemachcho, the chief will eat. Avyehu bemachcho, the cheapest food. However, the craziest thing about Bora has to be the fact that it has the largest amount of noun classifiers ever discovered in a living language at around 350. For comparison, modern dictionaries of Mandarin Chinese include about 120 to 150 classifiers. A classifier is something that accompanies a noun and used to classify the type of the noun. In languages that have classifiers, they're often used when counting things. For example, 3 people would be required to be written as 3x of people, where x is the classifier appropriate to the noun type of people. The closest English equivalent would be like the difference between a group of people, a flock of birds, a herd of sheep, etc. For example, in Mandarin Chinese, there are classifiers for meals, works of art, wheeled vehicles, flat objects, and about 100 more. Bora has 300 more and then some. Now, this might seem similar to the gender noun class described in Budukh, but basically the difference is this. When it comes to noun classes, every noun belongs to one and only one noun class, while with noun classifiers, a noun doesn't even have to have necessarily a classifier. Noun classes can be marked in nouns and verbs, while noun classifiers don't modify the verb at all. Noun classes can't appear alone in a sentence, while noun classifiers can appear freely within the same phrase as the noun that they classify. Boraliant. Next up, a language called Blin. Blin is spoken in and around the city of Keren in Eritrea by about 70 to 120,000 people. It belongs to the Central Cushitic branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family and is written using the Latin script as of fairly recently. In 1993, the government set up a committee to standardize the Blin language with a Latin-based orthography. This overturned the 110-year-old tradition of writing Blin in the Ge'ez script. Blin means pancake in Russian, which I also thought was hilarious and deserves of a mention, cause why not? Blina also means of the Blin, or belonging to the Blin. Not much else can be said about it, really. Not much information about Blin online. But at least now you know about it. And here's some more pictures of the people. And now I want some pancakes. Last but not least, Boontling. Boontling is native to the town of Boonville in Northern California. Nowadays it's spoken by less than 100 people, and it's classified as a jargon/secret language. Now, Boontling isn't really a language per se, it's more of a collection of slang terms specific to Boonville used in everyday life. What's the difference between Boontling and the slang terms that you use with your friends based on various inside jokes? Well, it's claimed that Boontling has a vocabulary of over 1,600 words, mostly English-based, but with some Spanish, Irish, and Scottish Gaelic sprinkled in, and even a little bit of Pomoan, which is a Native American tribe local to the region. Boonville is said to have been settled in 1865 by about 19 families. Being in the Anderson Valley, it's a very rural area, and people living there found themselves quite isolated from the rest of the world. Now, there's a few theories to the origin of Boontling, such as children making it up to avoid their parents' understanding, or women making it up to avoid their husband's understanding, or just everyone in Boonville making it up to avoid outsiders understanding it. Maybe it's a little bit of a mix of all three. In any case, it soon began to be spoken by the entire community of about 1,000 people back in the day. It was even taught in schools to some degree. There's even a guy who claims that his grand-uncle, when joining the military, presumably World War I, had trouble understanding English because all he knew was Boontling. The local baseball team apparently also used it to signal secret plays to win against the visiting teams. According to the people of Boonville, some of the most popular words are kimmy, harp, and burlap. A horn of Zeus is a cup of coffee. But did you hear about the Krazik Yieldem Hooted and Charlie the bonuses branching at the hob, and so the higged kimmy gorm booze and wheel bomb tooks? Because I bet you didn't. And that's Boontling, just a little fascinating chapter of California's history. And that's it for the B choices. Today we traveled to Ethiopia, to Azerbaijan, to the Amazon rainforest, to Eritrea, and we ended in sunny California. Hope you learned something new. Please follow me on Instagram so that you can also vote for the next episode of SpeechLeech coming out next week. And maybe, if that's cool, subscribe to this channel as well. That'd be nice. See you later. Peace out.